All right, so in this view, this is, in my opinion, the best clip of the Volkanovski versus Lopes fight because it shows just Volkanovski's really good, one, fight IQ, and two, just use of leverages and the ability for him to distribute force from the ground all the way through his body and into the strike as it lands. Okay, and he's doing something really cool here that we'll talk about in a second. But first, I want to talk about the lower body. Okay, we always start at the lower body, particularly whenever they're planted on the ground. They're doing a very good job of distributing force through the ground and then up into the arm where he's striking, or the extremity where he's striking. So the first thing that he does when he's in this position is he starts to kind of get lower. And this is because in order to get that really good extension of the hips that kind of delivers the rest of the trunk and sets up for that really good strike in the upper extremity, you have to get a little bit lower. His center of mass is lower than Lopez's, which is great. He's making connection here. He's nice and tight. So as he extends the knee and the hip, he also rotates. He gets what's called lumbopelvic rotation. So extension at the knee with muscles like the quads, extension at the hip with muscles like the hamstrings and the glutes in the closed chain. He also uses that these glutes to help rotate him, his lumbopelvic spine, or where the lumbar spine meets the pelvis. And so now we'll travel up to the trunk. So he gets that lumbopelvic rotation, and then he creates a situation up here so where his hip line is separated from his shoulder line. So he's throwing those hips forward, and his shoulder is actually lagging behind. We see this a lot in really good strikers. They're taking advantage of something called the stretch reflex in a few places. The first place is in the trunk here. Now, you can't really see it. It would be a better view from the front, but this is what we have. So that external oblique is responsible for rotating the spine or rotating the trunk to the right. So the left oblique produces contralateral rotation, or it rotates to the right. And so since his hips are already rotated to the right, it puts a big stretch on the external oblique. Not only that, when his shoulder lags behind, the muscles in the front of the shoulder girdle, the pec major and the anterior delt, mainly, there are muscles that are involved in throwing that hook across the body in a motion called horizontal adduction. Okay, so those are also put on really big stretch. And so when the timing is right, he winds up, he throws his hips forward, gets that big stretch, and the eccentric stretch, and then that concentric, it switches from the eccentric to the concentric, producing a more forceful contraction for a more forceful strike. Now, let's talk about his arm over here. It's actually doing something pretty cool. So most of the time, when we're breaking down something like this, we see there's a little bit of space in between, particularly with hooks. But what Volkanovski's doing, I want you to watch how he's kind of hooking Lopes and almost using that as leverage to extend either extension or horizontally abducting, depending on the angle of his shoulder at the time. So watch really closely. You can see that as he kind of bends down and winds up, which we just broke down, he's pulling Lopes towards him right there. So as he pulls him, he's using his muscles of the shoulder blade, so like the traps, specifically the upper, the middle, and the lower trap. If we were to splay that away, we could also see the rhomboids contributing to that scapular retraction or adduction, if you want to be really specific. And then muscles like the posterior delt and the lat that are involved in shoulder extension or shoulder horizontal abduction. And he's using that to help create a little bit more rotational momentum at the trunk. Just really good use of body awareness and leverages, and you could just tell that Volk throughout his career has just developed a fight IQ that is just insanely high, and you can see it in the way that he moves and demonstrates it in live situations. So really fun to see, and can't wait to see who he fights again.